lot of different ways it can work, and let me start by emphasizing that it can work for the smallest operation or the biggest practice. There isn't one right way, and you can do it more or less depending on your resources, and I tend to advise people, start small, take it slow. Where I like to have people start is by sketching out what's called a logic model. Now, I personally prefer the term success map because I think logic model sounds really boring, but if it's something you want to Google and learn more, logic model is what you want to look for. But what we do with a logic model is we start by thinking about what is the ultimate impact that we want to create. So for shelters, that's saving lives, ending animal homelessness, etc. And for veterinarian practices, that's going to be a healthy communication of animals. It's a sustainable practice, and maybe it's even some quality of life for yourself. So you start with those impacts. Then you work backwards to say, well, what kinds of behavioral outcomes do I have to create those impacts? And some of these are not your own behaviors, these are the behaviors of others. So for example, if you're going to have quality of life for the cats and dogs and other animals in your practice, what are the key behaviors that you need people to do? Well, you probably want them to come see you periodically. You want them to engage in certain kinds of treatment protocols or just maintenance and care protocols. You want to start by looking at what are the behaviors that people need to do. Now, so far, this might sound really boring. It's like, well, yeah, we know people need to do things to keep their animals healthy. But then we step back. Here's the exciting part, where we step back and say, what are the attitudes and the knowledge that people need to do that? So let's say we're looking at spay-neuter. Well, people take spay-neuter very seriously, and they trust their veterinarians more than they trust anyone else to do it, but they still may have reservations or concerns. For example, in some research that was done, a lot of people didn't think that their pets would be the ones who would be creating the puppies and kittens who would ultimately be killed in shelters due to potential overpopulation. So that's an example of a knowledge piece that people need to know that your animal could have puppies or kittens and there might not be a place for them. People need to know that the age at which you think it's safe to do spay-neuter so that they can be prepared and come in as soon as possible. So by looking at the knowledge and the attitudes and the behaviors you want, you can do more to understand, are you delivering the information, are you delivering services in a way to get there? How about rebooking? If you want people to rebook in a year, if that's a behavior, well, they have to have an attitude around that this was a positive experience, that it's urgent for their pet to make sure they see you regularly. Are you doing any client satisfaction surveys? Do you know when people leave your office, how do they feel? Do they feel about how quickly they were seen? How did they feel about their experience? Would they come back? Would they recommend you to others? Would they come again? And so you can see here that both affects the animal's care because it affects whether they come back, but that also affects the sustainability of your practice because then they're going to be hopefully telling other people good things. So the process of measurement starts with figuring out what do we want to measure. We want to measure behaviors and attitudes and knowledge that are the results we are trying to produce with the people we're affecting. Once you have things defined, then you can get more specific about how do we measure these. What does it mean for clients to be satisfied, for example, with their visit? Now, you can't deliver everything in the world. You're not going to give them free services. That's not what it's about. But what would you measure to see if they feel satisfied in their visit? Were they seen promptly? Were they able to make an appointment in what they thought was a reasonable time? How did your office people treat them? You may have problems up front that you don't know about in the back. The people love you, but they don't like your office staff and they're not coming back. So by looking more specifically about what are the more detailed measures that support the overall satisfaction, you could see how you're moving towards the possibility of doing different types of research that could support measurement.